most people, the goal in life is not to live forever. The goal is to create something that lasts. It is said that the fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who has lived fully should be prepared to die at any time. Just like the event of our dearest Queen Elizabeth II, who passed on Thursday, the 8th of September 2022. Born Princess Elizabeth Alexandra Mary on April 21, 1926 in London to Prince Albert, Duke of York, later known as King George VI, and Elizabeth Bowes Lyon. At the time of her birth, most people did not realize Elizabeth would someday become the Queen of Great Britain. Elizabeth, nicknamed Lilibet, got to enjoy the first decade of her life with all the privileges of being a royal without the pressure of being the heir apparent. Elizabeth's father and mother divided their time between a home in London and Royal Lodge, the family's home on the ground of Windsor Great Park. With the outbreak of World War II in 1939, Elizabeth and her sister largely stayed out of London, having been relocated to Windsor Castle. From there, she made the first of her famous radio broadcast in 1940, with this particular speech reassuring the children of Britain who had been evacuated from their homes and families. The 14-year-old princess, showing her calm and firm personality, told them that in the end, all will be well, for God will care for us and give us victory and peace. Appointed Colonel-in-Chief of the Grenadier Guards by her father, Elizabeth made her first public appearance inspecting the troops in 1942. She also began to accompany her parents on official visits within Britain. In 1945, Elizabeth joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service to help in the war effort. She trained side by side with other British women to be an expert driver and a mechanic. While her volunteer work only lasted a few months, it offered Elizabeth a glimpse into a different, non-royal world. She had another vivid experience outside of the monarchy when she and Margaret were allowed to mingle anonymously among the citizenry on Victory in Europe Day. When Elizabeth's grandfather, George V, died in 1936, his eldest son, which was Elizabeth's uncle, became King Edward VIII. Edward, however, was in love with American divorcee Wallis Simpson and had to choose between the crown and his heart. In the end, Edward chose Simpson and abdicated the crown. The events changed the course of her life, making her the heir presumptive to the British crown. Her father was crowned King George VI in 1937, taking on the name George to emphasize continuity with his father. Her mother became Queen Elizabeth. On King George's death in 1952, she became Queen Mother and her daughter became Queen Elizabeth II. Elizabeth married her distant cousin Philip Mountbatten, a surname adopted by his mother's side, on November 20, 1947 at London's Westminster Abbey. At the time of their wedding, Great Britain was still recovering from the ravages of World War II, and Elizabeth collected clothing coupons to get fabric for her gown. Elizabeth and Philip wasted no time in producing a heir. Their son Charles was born in 1948, the year after their wedding, and daughter Anne arrived in 1950. Elizabeth had two more children, sons, Andrew and Edward, in 1960 and 1964 respectively. In 1969, she officially made Charles her successor by granting him the title of Prince of Wales. Hundreds of millions of people tuned in to see the ceremony in television. In 1981, 32-year-old Charles wedded 19-year-old Diana Spencer, best known as Princess Diana. Charles and Diana gave birth to Elizabeth's grandson, Prince William, who was created Duke of Cambridge upon his own marriage in 2011. Second in line to the throne in 1982, and Prince Harry in 1984. Elizabeth has emerged as a devoted grandmother to William and Harry. Prince William has said that she offered invaluable support and guidance as he and Kate Middleton planned their 2011 wedding. On July 22, 2013, Elizabeth's grandson, William, and his wife Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, welcomed their first child, George Alexander Louis, a successor to the throne known officially as His Royal Highness Prince George of Cambridge. When Elizabeth became queen, post-war Britain still had a substantial empire, dominions and dependencies. However, during the 1950s and 1960s, many of these possessions achieved independence and the British Empire evolved into the Commonwealth of Nations. Elizabeth II thus made visits to other countries as head of the Commonwealth and a representative of Britain, including a groundbreaking trip to Germany in 1965. She became the first British monarch to make a state visit there in more than 5 decades. Despite all the occasional calls to step aside for Charles, Elizabeth remained steadfast in her royal obligations as she passed her 90th birthday. She continued making more than 400 engagements per year, maintaining her support of hundreds of charitable organizations and programs. However, in late 2017, the monarchy took what was considered a major step towards transitioning to the next generation. On November 12th, Charles handled the traditional Remembrance Sunday duty of placing a wreath at the Cenotaph War Memorial as the Queen watched from a nearby balcony. Elizabeth worked tirelessly to protect the image of the monarchy and to prepare for its future. On February 6, 2017, the Queen celebrated 65 years on the throne, the only British monarch to ever celebrate her Sapphire Jubilee. The date also marks the anniversary of the death of our father. The Queen chose to spend the day quietly at Sandringham, her country estate north of London, where she attended a church service. In 2022, the nation celebrated Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. She was the first British monarch to reach that milestone, which marks 70 years on the throne. Elizabeth died peacefully at Balmoral Estate September 8, 2022. She was 96 years old. The Queen dedicated her life to public service. She was responsible for English exploration of the New World and the flourishing of economy, making England a world power. Her reign was also noted for the English Renaissance, an outpouring of poetry and drama. Elizabeth's court also became a center for poets, musicians, writers, and scholars. These, amongst others, are few of the things she's done for humanity. She was a philanthropist. Her heart was associated with the word kind-hearted. Like I said earlier, it is not how far or how long you've lived, but how well. Like Leo Tolstoy once said, the sole meaning of life is to serve humanity.